Most visible among the rapporteurs has been the UN's expert on the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesa Albanese. Washington's response to her has been illuminating. In July, she was placed on a US Treasury sanctions list normally reserved for those accused of terrorism, drug trafficking, or money laundering. Her listing comes a few days after she published her report on the collusion of Western corporations in Israel's genocide. The US sanctions violate the diplomatic immunity she enjoys as a UN official and make it impossible for her to attend meetings at UN headquarters in New York. With the US effectively exercising a stranglehold on the international financial system, the sanctions also mean no banks or credit cards will allow her to use their services. She cannot be paid by employers. She cannot book a flight or a hotel. Universities, human rights institutions, and charities have cut her adrift for fear of facing reprisals themselves if they continue to have dealings with her. Her assets in the US have been frozen, including her bank account and an apartment. It is unlikely her new book on Palestine can be distributed in the United States. Effectively, Francesa Albanese has been turned into a non-person with the silent consent of Western politicians and media. The State Department justified the actions on the grounds that Albanese had recommended that the International Criminal Court issue arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant. In fact, ICC judges approved the arrest warrants in November 2024 after the court's prosecutors amassed evidence of crimes against humanity committed by Netanyahu and Gallant, chiefly over their imposition of an aid blockade to starve Gaza's population. It was no surprise, therefore, that the Trump administration has issued similar sanctions against 8 judges at the Hague War Crimes Court, either for approving those arrest warrants or for authorizing an investigation into crimes by US military personnel in Afghanistan. In an executive order announcing the sanctions in February, Trump declared a national emergency, saying the court represented an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. You might imagine that this lawless move against some of the most renowned jurists in the world would have provoked considerable pushback in Europe. You would be wrong. The all-out assault on one of the main pillars of international law has been barely mentioned. Le Monde broke ranks in November to interview French judge Nicolas Guillouat. He detailed the impact since he was sanctioned in August. Quote, "All my accounts with American companies, such as Amazon, Airbnb, PayPal, and others have been closed. Being under sanctions is like being sent back to the 1990s. European banks, fearful of the US Treasury, also closed his accounts, and European companies refused to provide